Big news for anyone starting a family in the UK. In 2025, paternity leave is getting a massive, game-changing update. So if you're a parent-to-be, you're going to want to pay close attention. These changes could totally reshape how you plan for that all-important first year. Let's dive in. You know that time right after a baby arrives is, well, it's a whirlwind, right? It's so much more than just sleepless nights. It's about support, it's about bonding, and it's about trying to figure out your new rhythm as a family. And let's be honest, the system hasn't always made that super easy for new parents. But it looks like things are finally changing. A huge overhaul is coming in 2025, and it's all built around one really simple, powerful idea: giving new parents more choice and a heck of a lot more flexibility right when they need it the most. So what does this big upgrade actually mean for you and your family? Let's get right into the specifics. Okay, first things first, the big question on everyone's mind. Do these new rules even apply to you? Let's figure that out right now. It really all boils down to these four key checks. First, you've got to be an employee, not just a worker. And trust me, that's a really important legal distinction. Second, your relationship qualifies, and this is pretty inclusive, covering same-sex partners, adoption, and surrogacy. And finally, you have to hit those minimum service and earnings requirements with your employer. And that final check? It's the earnings threshold. The magic number you need to remember is an average of at least £125 per week. This is what's known as the lower earnings limit, and it's basically your ticket to qualifying for the statutory pay. If you can tick all four of those boxes, you are good to go. All right, now for the really exciting part. This is where things get interesting, because the absolute biggest update for 2025 is all about one word: flexibility. So what's actually changing? Well, the old system was super rigid. You had to take your 1 or 2 weeks of leave in a single, continuous block. Take it or lose it. The new way? It's a total game changer. You can now split your 2 weeks into two completely separate 1-week blocks. And it's not just about splitting the weeks, it's about when you can take them. You now have the entire first year, that's 52 weeks, to use your leave. Just imagine taking 1 week right after the birth to help out and bond, and then saving that second week for, say, 6 months later when your partner might be going back to work. Now that is some seriously practical flexibility. Of course, flexibility is amazing, but we also need to talk about the money, right? Let's break down exactly what you can expect to get paid during your time off. Okay, the statutory rate, that's the legal minimum from the government, is set at £187.18 per week. Now, just remember this little detail. You'll get that amount or 90% of your average weekly earnings, whichever one is lower. It's a small distinction, but an important one to know. But, and this is a huge but, that's just the legal minimum. A lot of employers offer something called enhanced paternity pay, which can be way more generous. This is why you absolutely have to check your employment contract. I'm serious, it could be the difference of hundreds of pounds a week. Don't skip that step.
So you're eligible, you understand the pay. How do you actually apply for this thing? Don't worry, it's a lot simpler than it sounds. Let's walk through it.
Think of it as a simple two-step plan. First, you give an initial notice to your employer. You have to do this by the end of the 15th week before the baby is due. This is basically just a heads up that you're planning to take the leave. Then, for each of those separate weeks you want to take, you have to give another notice, at least 28 days before you want that week to start. And for that first initial heads up, the official government form you'll want to use is called an SC3. It's just the standard way to get the ball rolling and make sure all the correct information is there from the get-go. And to make it super easy for you, we've put a direct link to it in the description below. Now, these paternity leave changes are amazing, but they don't exist in a vacuum. They're actually part of a much bigger shift that's happening with UK family policy. It's really worth knowing about two other key options you might have. There's shared parental leave, or SPL, which lets you and your partner basically carve up and share up to 50 weeks of leave between you. And also coming in April 2025, there's the brand new neonatal care leave. This is a crucial new right, giving parents up to 12 extra weeks of leave if their newborn needs hospital care. So the takeaway here is pretty clear, right? The system is finally starting to catch up with what modern families actually need, and that's flexibility and choice. These 2025 changes give parents so much more control over that irreplaceable first year. Which really makes you wonder, what's going to be the next big step for family leave in the UK?